Alright, welcome back ladies and gentlemen to Panda Gaming, and this time to Warhammer World. We are playing Total War Warhammer 2. There are 3 games. This is going to be a trilogy. There's only game 1 and game 2 out right now, but we are on game 2. And this is going to be a tutorial video of the Warhammer World and how Total War has implemented it. So, first off, there are 2 games out right now, like I said. We're going to go into new campaign. This will show you the Eye of the Vortex campaign and the Mortal Empires campaign. They are different in that the Eye of the Vortex is the main Warhammer 2 campaign map with 4 playable races, and Mortal Empires is actually a combined map of Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2, which is pretty huge. There's actually going to be a 3rd game later on, maybe next year, not sure, with Warhammer 3, and that is also going to be combining afterwards all of the 3 games together into one map, which is the whole point of the trilogy. But we're not there yet. We only have the game 2 and game 1 map right now, but that's pretty plenty already. I could go to the faction screen and show you the factions, but I think I'm gonna go actually to the multiplayer lobby, which shows the map a bit better and where the different races and factions are, which is the point of this video. I'm gonna show you all of these factions. So base game 1, Warhammer 1, started with 4 factions. First one, we have the Empire, which is a human faction. There's this is modeled based on like your Holy Roman Empire of 14, 15, and 1600s. I'd assume of pike and shot, basically. And it's also modeled based on Holy Roman Empire in that the Holy Roman Empire is roughly in this map where Germany would be. So Warhammer 1 map was this box right here. And if you look at it, it sort of looks like a bit of Europe. You have your Spain and France and Germany and whatnot. And then you have Scandinavia and your Italy and whatnot. It's not, of course, 1-to-1, but it's roughly. And you can also see that the Empire is here. It's in the middle here, and it's roughly in Germany. So Empire is really modeled after Holy Roman Empire. Also in the way that there's an Emperor, and there's Elector Counts. I think they were called Elector Princes in real history, but in the fantasy history of Warhammer, they are Elector Counts. Whereas they gather and elect the Emperor. And the game starts where Emperor has just the Karl Franz has just been nominated the Emperor, and now he tries to unite all the provinces. There's like a 10 or so. But one of the there's another faction called Vampire Count, which is also part of the Emperor. But I'll get to that in a bit. So what is Empire in game terms? Well, there's a lot of variety in their troops. There's a lot of human foot soldiers, there's a bit of cavalry, there's a bit of artillery, there's a bit of, well, there aren't really monsters, but there's a steam tank, for example. This is basically a bit of a pike and shot type of faction where they have musket weapons as well. There's even a steam tank in the roster. So they have a lot of variety, and they're a pretty good faction in multiplayer if you're going to play head-to-head with just battles. The campaign is also, they start in a pretty precarious situation because they're pretty small and you have all these other factions around you. So you're in the middle of everything. There's no wall or map edge you can push your one side because you literally start in the middle. So it's a bit hard. So there's quite a lot of Elector Counts around them. One of them is Vampire Counts. Why vampire? Well, because they're not humans anymore. They are undead, most of their troops. and their leaders are vampires. They have been transformed into vampires who are also necromancers, so they raise dead and have them as your armies. They don't have any missile troops. They have a lot of infantry and monsters, but no missile troops, so they just need to come at you as an unending undead tide, basically. They have zombies and whatnot in their rosters. Pretty interesting faction as well. But their campaign in the campaign map evolves to reclaiming the Emperor title for the faction leader Manfred von Karnstein here, and taking all the Electrocom lands. Well, you can do whatever you want. I guess this is a sandbox game, but that's the main campaign with objectives for them. The Emperor is the opposite. They try to reclaim their land here. The third vanilla faction and race is Dwarfs. They are very Tolkien-esque faction in that what Mr. Tolkien started with The Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion and Hobbit is pretty much the same. Here with these dwarves, they are the same in that they are really short, stocky, hairy, and they have a lot of armor and weapons, so they have a lot of good heavy infantry. There's a twist to it in this Warhammer world where they have a lot of like this is more of a steampunk version of these dwarves. They have a lot of muskets and steam weapons and artillery and that type of thing. They even have helicopters and so on. So they actually engineered all these weapons and then gave the information to the Empire, to the humans, which are also a good faction as the dwarves. Vampire Counts are not really a good faction. They are more on the side of evil. But dwarves are good, so they start actually with a non-aggression pact with the Empire in the campaign. And they are the source of the information for the gunpowder in the Empire lands. Their nemesis is actually orcs and goblins in green skins, which are a bit south of them, as you can see. Dwarves used to own all of this. But they lost their hold in a devastating earthquake made by Mr. Master Mundi, I'll talk about later, who's a lizardman, when he reshaped the world. And greenskins and also Skaven Redmond came in, but the greenskins were the first fourth race in the first game. They are orcs and goblins. They are a never-ending tide of green horror that's coming at you, undisciplined, almost horde-like, but they do have settlements of their own, and they like to raid and fight and kill. So they are your very basic orcs. They have a lot of infantry and fast cavalry and some archers, but not so good, and some monsters as well in spiders and giants and whatnot. Very nice faction. So, and there was one faction that came with the base game as well. That was a pre-order bonus of Warriors of Chaos, which is the chaos representing the chaos gods in this world. They're actually like they're here to destroy the world. That's it. They are a horde faction. They don't have any settlements. They just go in and come from the north and try to destroy everything. And also good factions try to stop that. And the bad factions maybe as well, because they want to be alive, but they might, ally them once in a while to achieve what they want. There are like mutated men and beasts and horrors from the warp. So they have a lot of heavy infantry and monsters and a few flying things as well. No, I don't think they have any archers. They have one actually, Kel cannons, which are operated by Chaos Dwarves, which are most likely going to be in the third game, somewhere here. But yeah, that was a pre-order bonus, so the first game came with Empire Greenskins, Vampire Counts, and Dwarfs here. But as you can see, there's a lot more factions here. So there were a couple of DLCs. Beastmen, for example. That was the first DLC for Game 1. It came with Beastmen, which are more beast than men. They have a lot of units which are like hoofed men, basically. A bit stronger versions of humans. They also have a lot of monsters and flying things, and they're really fast, aggressive, horde-like faction, which are quite chaos-like. They are children of chaos, basically. They are they want to destroy the world as well. And these 3 dots is your 3 different legendary lords you can start with, and they start in the different positions. That's why there's 3 pins in the map. Then the next one was Wood Elves. That's the first Elven faction. There's 3 in the game. Or even races. They're so different that they are more or less races. Different races themselves. The Wood Elves occupy this little remnant of a big forest that used to cover this land called Athlauren, which is, yeah, you can see it here. The DLC came with 2 factions. The first one is Wood Elf, led by Orion, who have a lot of light-footed, light-armored, mobile elven archers and infantry in the roster. They also have some tree spirits, but that's mostly Argulan, which starts in the north part of the forest, led by Dorthu, who himself is a tree spirit, tree man. So they have more of a tree spirit focused army, but they can wield the archers as well if they so choose. And same with the Wood Elves, they can have some wood spirits as well. They're pretty defensive. They don't rarely leave the forest, except when there's a wild hunt. So they can only occupy this forest, and if they conquer other lands, they're going to be outposts. So that's an interesting playstyle as well. I might do a let's play of them. They're really, really fun. I'm not sure about the order, but one of the DLCs after that was Clan Angrun. That's a dwarf faction. So if you remember, the main dwarves were here, and to the west of them is Clan Angrun, which is Belegar Ironhammer, the last remnant of King Lugni, I think. And he's trying to reclaim correct 8 Peaks, which is here. It's I think it's here. Yeah, about here. It's an old place where this Dwarven faction and then also Crooked Moon, led by Skarsnik, who started a bit of the same. I think they came with the same DLC. They have a 2-way to go and reclaim Carrot 8 Peaks. That's the campaign goal. And you will get some minuses to your faction before you can reclaim it. Crooked Moon is a goblin faction. They only can recruit goblins until they get to Carrick 8 Peaks, and then they can recruit orcs from there. It's a really interesting campaign. You start with in the middle of your enemies, basically. There's only enemies around you. So that's a really hard but really fun campaign. They have only goblins and riding goblins and spiders to their roster. I think they can have giants as well. Mainly just goblins and spiders in the roster. The Clan Angrun is basically your dwarves. There's not much. Belegar starts with 4 ethereal heroes, which is and ability to recruit rangers, which is your crossbow variant, I guess, but they're really similar to the dwarves in any other way. So what else we got? We got Bloody Hands was a DLC as well. It's a greenskin faction. So if you remember, greenskins start a bit east of them here. And Grimgor Ironhand, their leader, has sent Wurzag the Great Green Prophet here to the Bloody Hands. They are actually savage orcs. They're not normal orcs. So they're really even though there's you can make the claim that greenskins are not really noble or anything like that, but these are even more barbaric and savage orcs. They don't have any armor. They have just war paint, which gives them some protection, but that's about it. So they're really aggressive, savage orc race, which just comes at you. They have a massive charge bonus and a lot of good attacking stats. But yeah, that's a really interesting faction to play as well. Funny thing is, the Great Green Prophet is a mage, so, or a shaman. So he'll be accompanying that board with some spells. All right, what else did we have with game 1? When we got one's Karstans, which is another variant for vampire counts, they actually start right next to them. This is different one Karstans. It's Vlad, who is the dad of Manfred von Karstan, and then Isabella as well, who are their lovers. They're lovers to each other. So they have the same roster basically as vampire counts. A bit different buffs, but mainly they're the same, and they have the same uniting the empire type of gameplay as well. So was that? Well, we got free DLC as well with Bretonia here. This is a funny faction, as you can see from the map. They're basically in France. This is your medieval France. So they have peasants as their infantry, and then you have the noblemen who are riding cavalry. They're a pretty funny faction as well, led by Louis Leoncoeur. They came with 3 factions: Bretonia, Bordelais, and Carcassonne. So this is, and there's a few other neutral factions as well, which you can play, which are all Bretonian humans. So the differences are really minor. It's basically the leaders. Albert Bordelais is leading Bordelais, and Carcassonne is led by the Fey Enchanters, who is actually I'm not sure about the exact lore, but they are what the Bretonia believes is the lady in the lake, which is actually a wood elven goddess who's just using them as their plaything. But that's their religion. As you can see, they live right next to the Athloran, which is the wood elven forests, where they can never go. So that's Bretonia. They have an interesting game mechanic where the peasants are making up the infantry corps, but you can only have so much of them until your economy starts to hurt, because that's the peasants who are working in your farms and factories. So you can either have them on the field or actually tilling the field. So that's a kind of funny thing. All right, I guess that was. Did I miss something? I don't think so. That was the game 1. Then game 2 came with 4 factions, 4 races. You have High Elves with 2 factions each. So we have the main element faction in this Atlantis type island here, which name slips my mind right now, so I would say it's just by Tyrion, and his brother is leading Order of the Lore Masters, Teclis, in this little island here. But mostly the High Elves are in this island here. So what are they? They are used to rule the world, and they're a really proud, arrogant race of pointy-hatted elves. They have strong archers and an infantry to hold them back. They also have some dragons, which is nice. And yeah, so their nemesis is the Dark Elves. You have Malekith, the Lich King here. I'm sorry, the Witch King. Lich King is from Warcraft. Sorry. So you have Malekith here, and then you have Cult of Pleasure down south with his mom Marathi leading that, and all of this in between are Dark Elves. So they are habiting what could be in this in the real world would be North America, called Nagorond. They are pretty similar to the High Elven factions, but they have some chaos sorceries to top that. They are not really a chaos faction, but they have used that chaos magic to their benefit. So they have some witch elves and some hydras and other monsters to accompany them and their dark elves as well. So the third faction, sorry, for the game 2 was Lizardmen, and they came with two factions: Texodal with Lord Master Mundi, and then we have the last defenders of Krokkar in the top in the southeast, and he starts in what is Africa, basically Southlands in this game. They are Lizardmen. They are weird. They are one of the most unique factions in this game. They used to be a god-like beings called the Old Ones who actually created this world in the lore, and they set the Lizardmen to guard it and follow the great plan they had for this world. And but they got banished by chaos from this world, the Old Ones, so Lizardmen are left here without the connection to those Old Ones anymore, and they are still trying to figure out what is the great plan and how is this world gonna be thriving. So that's their plan here. They are trying to find out what they should do. They are a bit lost. So I actually made a playthrough of in game 2 with Krokkar here, and it was pretty interesting, really unique. They are basically lizards riding dinosaurs, so they're pretty fun, really weird. They are like Aztec themed race, Aztec, Maya, and what's it called? Goddamn race, which is down South America. Aztec, Maya, and Inca. Yeah, Inca themed race. They come with a lot of good infantry, some skinks, which is a little lizard variant who can have blowpipes, and then they have like straight up dinosaurs like T-Rexes, Carnosaurs, and Bastiladons and whatnot, and some artillery as well on top of dinosaurs. So they're pretty funny. Definitely one of my favorite races. Then the fourth race was Redmond Skaven with Clan Morse, with Quick Headtaker, and also Clan Pestilence with Lord Skrog. Clan Morse and Quick Headtaker are an interesting faction. They start from in the Africa part of the map, but they're sort of like on the race for the Karak 8 Peaks with the Crooked Moon Skarsnik coming from the north, and also Clan Angrund coming from the north as well. So they have a three-way to try to reclaim Karak 8 Peaks for themselves. That's their faction goal, which is really nice. Then there's Clan Pestilence as well, down in Lustria here in South America. The Redmond are the real vermins in this game and lore, where they're just endless, just an endless tides of human-sized rats coming at you and trying to take over the world. They are like this maniac, madmen type of race, which have endless numbers of rats coming at you. Really unique, really fun. They also are quite good in engineering, so they have all these machines and warp lightning cannons and doom wheels and stuff like that, which are pretty fun. So yeah, they are. Quick is trying to take the Karak 8 Peaks back, and Clan Pestilence with Lord Skrog just wants to, as you can see from the name, they have a plague mechanic, which they just want to infest on all the world. So that's their thing. I think that was the whole of the factions which have been released so far. This is a month or two after the release of Game 2 when I'm making this video, so you know, there's a lot of factions yet to come. They haven't been one DLC yet to Game 2, so what I'm expecting is Tomb Gimmicks to come to this area, to Africa. It's a bit empty now. It's currently held by a placeholder Vampire Count faction, but the Tomb Kings are a different faction in that they are not... They're undead as well, but they're different from Vampire Counts in that they're not vampires. They're just undead. They're like a Egypt-themed faction, which will most likely occupy here. Then there might be a faction called Araby here, which are like human. Well, that's more of like a Berber thing, faction themed race where well, I mean they're humans, but they're like in Saharan desert type of like a desert camel type of race. They are traders and whatnot here on the coast. What else could be? I think there's going to be a few sub-factions for the High Elves and Dark Elves, maybe for the Lizardmen, and definitely for the Skaven as well. So, of those I have no knowledge, but yeah, that's the factions for this game. I'm actually gonna go now into the single-player Multi Empires faction screen where you can look at all these faction leaders. I briefly mentioned all of them, but you know, there's 35. I'm not gonna go through all of them. What I'm gonna do is play as the Dwarfs for this tutorial campaign. I will not play, I will just show you how the campaign map works and how the battles works and a few tips and tricks how they will work. So I'm gonna play as Thorin Grudgebearer, who is the High King. There's also Ungrim Ironfist and Grombinder the White Dwarf, who is actually an incarnation of Snorri Whitebeard, long dead leader of dwarves. And then we have Panda Ironhammer, but he's from Clan Angler. So we are gonna play as Thorin Grudgebearer. He's pretty nice leader to start with. As you can see, initial challenge is easy, and the game works and the units works in such a way that it's pretty new player friendly, I feel. So we will see that in the next episode. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.